Hey guys, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Today's Friday, May 19th. It is 6:19 right now. Market's going to open in about 11 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and set up this room real quick and we'll get started shortly with our analysis for today. It's got a couple of things here to update and we should be good to go. It's good. So I get this down here. And it looks like we are good to go. All right, let me get this link sent out to you guys here in the premium. And then we'll start analysis shortly. Good. Perfect. All right, I will give it a few moments for people to make their way in. And we'll get started shortly with the analysis. So it looks like people are still joining right now. Looks good. All right, so let me check the news real quick. So let's see what's here so far. Morning, everybody. Today is Friday, May 19th. Happy Friday, everyone. It is 6:21 right now. Market's going to open in about 9 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and let some people join in, and then we'll get started with our full analysis shortly. So let's see who's here so far. Morning, Nick. Morning, T. Morning, AR. Morning, Fund Me. Morning, Maria. Morning, Karen. Morning, iPhone. Morning, Johnny. Morning, guys. Morning, Akash. Kosh is asking, did you take any trades yesterday? I didn't take any trades myself. A lot of people in the group took trades off my analysis, but I didn't take any trades myself. Liquidity never came. The liquidity that we watched at the end didn't play out, but it was anticipated because it came after 8. So I didn't necessarily take any trades yesterday. So hopefully I can catch at least one today. I know there's a lot of news today, like with the Fed. I think today's like a lot of Fed speakers. Powell is supposed to speak today too. So we're going to be a little careful and cautious, but, obviously if we see something good, then we're going to take it. All right, let me check the news calendar real quick. So for today, Friday, May 19th, we just had Fed member Williams speaking at 5:45. I'm not going to mark that up because it's not necessarily a news event. It's just him speaking. Fed member Bowman speaking at 6, or he's speaking right now, I guess. And then Powell speaking at 8 o'clock. So if we get any entries, it's going to have to come pretty soon. It can't happen like too late because Powell's going to, throw the market off a little bit. So yeah, with that said, guys, there's no specific news events for us to mark up for today. The G7 meetings are going on all day today. There's nothing to like really mark up. The thing to just really look out for is going to be Powell speaking later at 8 o'clock. So I think we do have the Fed speaking right now currently, but Powell is really what's going to, make the market move. Hey, Glenn, morning. Morning, Martha. Morning, Kenny. Morning, CJ. Morning, Andrew. Morning, Van Harwig. Morning, guys. All right, so I marked up, well, there's no news to mark up, but I marked up pretty much opening price and 8 o'clock right there here on the clean chart. I'm going to go over here to the liquidity chart, and I'm going to mark up liquidity. So let's start off with the daily time frame. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and mark up liquidity on the daily time frame first. So we got liquidity right there, right there. So as you guys can see, a lot of liquidity is built up over the week. Yesterday, we did not have a liquidity push entry. So today we have a lot of liquidity just like sitting around waiting to get knocked out. I personally like the higher levels of liquidity because these levels have been sitting for, weeks, months, years in some instances. These daily ones down here have been alive since like 2022, I think. So that's what I'd prefer to get hit. A lot of swing traders are probably holding those for a very long time. So, if they do get hit, it's going to be a pretty strong area of liquidity. So we got that right there. Go down to the 1 hour. There. 30-minute. $15-minute. And lastly, the 10-minute over here. So we have one possible area of liquidity right here on the bottom. I'll mark it up, but I'm also going to put a note there like we did yesterday, because it's kind of close to it. So I'd have to check it to make sure that it's actually established. I don't think it's going to be established by the time market opens, but it's fine because we'll just use the bottom level as the actual area of liquidity. So just mark it up right here. So 10-minute. So I don't know if this area of liquidity is going to be established because it's so close to opening price right there. And it's just one candle away. Typically it needs to be about 4 or 5 candles away in order for it to be established. So I'm not sure if it'll be established at all, but we'll see. But that is going to be the closest area of liquidity. I probably prefer that it gets hit before market open, but it's okay. We'll keep an eye out on it. And then if not, there'll be another level down here. I'm hoping this one doesn't get touched though. I want this one to stay alive until market open. Let's see. Kaj said he FOMO'd and took that trade at 8 a.m. Hit stop loss. Good thing only risk 0.2%. Yeah, just gotta be careful with those trades, Akash. Any trades that happen after 8 o'clock, typically they're not going to be good trades. They'll probably hit, but you want to be on the safer side. Typically after 8 o'clock, the market starts to move a little funky. Even if it's a trade that we've been waiting for. So for me personally, I would just sit out of it. I know I marked it up for you guys and I was kind of like getting FOMO on it too. But luckily I did not fall for that. So unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but that liquidity area got pushed. Okay. I was hoping this one right here was not going to get hit. So this area is no longer valid for us. The next area of liquidity is kind of far down. It's like way down here. 700 pips. All right, so the next area of liquidity is down here, guys. I was hoping this one wasn't going to get hit, but it did get hit. So unfortunately, that area is, and I'm hoping this doesn't keep pushing down. We have about 2 minutes till market open. I'm hoping it doesn't spike down here because if it does, then we're not going to have any area of liquidity anywhere near. So I want price to just chill out and hang out where it's currently at, because if it keeps moving lower, then we're not going to have any liquidity any time soon. All right, I'm hoping it stays where it's currently at. Let me see if I can check the price difference between TradingView and MT4. So 33670 minus 33593. It's about 77 points right now. It's very different. It's very heavy. Like it's very split. So what I'm going to do here is I'm probably not going to put a pending order. I'll probably just put I'll enter it manually if it does come down or if it goes up. 33665 minus, let me try it again. 33665 minus 33592, 73. It looks like it's around 70 points, which is pretty wide. It's a big difference. So I'll I mean, we'll see where it ends up going. Let me take a look at the overall bias right now. Overall bias on the higher time frames is bullish. So price may push up. Lower time frames here is bearish, neutral. So with that said, I mean, price can really go in either direction with regard to the technicals. Looking over here at the charts again. So, I mean, I'll keep an eye out on both directions, and we'll see. I don't really want to put a buy stop or a sell stop because I don't want both of them to get triggered. I'll just do this manually. Have my finger hovering over the buy and sell button. Market's gonna open in about 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Market is now open, guys. There goes opening bell. Let's see where this ends up going. This price comes down a little bit or it goes up. Just want to be patient, guys, and wait for this to actually, reach its point, because if you get in a little too early, then you might get caught in some drawdown. Price start to spike around a bit, like it currently is moving right now. So we're getting a little close to this area. It's not there yet. All right, trying to see where this is at. You want to be a little careful if you're going to take the sell here, guys, because it's a bit overextended. So you might want to wait for it to, probably slow down a little bit. Maybe retrace, maybe consolidate before it reaches that point. But we'll see where this ends up pushing to. Trying to watch it on this chart to see how it's moving. It's getting close. Still not there yet. I wouldn't mind if it retraced up a little bit right here. Let's see. See, I didn't get into it yet. I'm trying to get into it right here. All right, so I'm waiting right here, guys. I didn't get into it yet. I'm trying to wait for it because I was waiting for it to kind of pull back a little bit, retrace and consolidate. See if I get in right here on the way back down. Put a sell stop right there. So I'm not in it yet. My sell stop waiting. Looking for it here to come back down. All right, mine hasn't filled yet, guys. I'm still waiting for it to fill. I put my sell stop right there to catch as it comes down. Because I saw that it was overextended, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for it to pull back a little bit. Like I mentioned before, I came down to this area. I said, probably wait a little bit for it to consolidate or retrace because it was a bit overextended. So let's see, still has not filled yet. Still waiting. I'm just watching to see if it fills. It's very volatile right now, so I'm not in the position yet, guys. I'm still waiting for it to come down and fill. Still not yet. Let's see. Coming down. It's coming down. And this thing, I don't know, it's like hovering over my entry point, but it's not actually triggering it. All right, I'm still not in it, guys. It's close to it. It gets really close, but it doesn't actually trigger it. You can see right here. Okay, so we're just waiting for it. If it pulls up, I'm just going to pull out of, I'm going to cancel it, but I'm still waiting for it to fill. So I'm just waiting for it right now, guys. So still waiting. Yeah, Maddie said seems overextended, but now the pullback should drop anytime soon. So it hasn't came back to my entry point here, guys. I have a sell stop waiting right here for it to catch it as it comes back down. Just still waiting for it to come down. All right, if it keeps pushing up a little bit, I'm just going to cancel it. So I still have the sell stop right here. A little tricky where it's moving right now. All right, I don't like how the market's moving. I might just cancel it soon, guys. I'm just going to give it a few more moments because it's not really going anywhere. So what I did here, guys, is when price was coming down, I mentioned price was overextended. I said watch out and look for a retracement or consolidation first. It never consolidated, it just kept dropping down lower. So when it filled right here, I just didn't enter it right away. I waited for it to pull back. When this candle right here pulled back, I then set my sell stop right here, and then it never came back down to fill it. So I still have a pending sell stop right now waiting to be filled, but it has not been filled yet. If price pushes up anywhere further around this area, I'm just going to cancel the order and then just wait for the next possible entry. But right now, there's just nothing for me to take at the moment. So price is just pretty much sitting around this area. There's not really much going on here. I'm basically just waiting for it to come back down. It's coming down now. Let's see. Waiting for it to come back down, fill my order, and then, make its move down. All right, I don't like the way the market's moving, guys. It hasn't came back down in like 5 minutes. I'm just going to cancel my order. Or should I leave it? Let me just cancel it. All right, so I'm not in this position, guys. I'll follow with you guys, but I'm not going to hold on to it. I just don't like the way it's moving right now. It's just too rangy and choppy right now. It's just going back and forth. So I'm not in the position. I was going to hold on to it. I was really tempted to hold on to it, but it took too long for it to come back down. Typically for retraces like this, it's going to come back down like immediately. So I just canceled my order. I'm not in the position anymore. And there's no pending order. So I'm just going to watch it. We'll see if it plays out. It did. If you guys are still holding on to it, it did fill right now. And we'll see where it ends up going. But unfortunately, I did not take anything today again. Sometimes if you don't feel comfortable with the position, guys, like right now, I just felt kind of risky because this thing didn't come back down. It kind of triggered over here, pulled back a little bit, and then it came back down right here, and it just kept going back and forth for like, 5 or 10 minutes. And when the market does that, it's just really indecisive into like what direction it's going to push to. Typically, if you get these liquidity pushes, when it goes on a stop loss hunt, it really goes on a stop loss hunt. Like it'll hit your entry point and then it'll blast like right through. So with where price is currently at right now, it's because the Fed's currently speaking. I don't know if he's saying anything that's like making the price spike around like this. Because Fed member Bellman right here spoke at 6 o'clock, or he is speaking right now, actually. And he's pushing price around. So as you guys can see, I'm kind of glad I canceled it because you can see price is just going back and forth at the moment. There's nothing here to really feel comfortable about. Because again, when it hit this area, it should have just continued dropping, right? But it didn't. Price is now just kind of pulling back. I wouldn't be surprised if price ends up just randomly like going sideways for a bit and then randomly just spiking straight down to TP. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that happened because I don't know what's going on with the Fed right now with whatever they're discussing. Obviously, they're discussing inflation and the recession, but I can't say exactly, what's being discussed and what's being said. But yeah, so going back to my review of this entry right here, guys, typically if this entry didn't come down like this, I would have just taken the trade right away. But since price just dropped from this area way down to here, you guys can see it's way overextended. It's like 1,000 pip drop without any retracement. So that's why I didn't enter it right away. Anything over 1,000 pips is like way over. It's way over extended. So I'm kind of glad I canceled my order right here because I'd be a little stressed out if I was holding on to it. Let's see, question from C. C's asking, will there be a high-low momentum scalp if it goes up? Not anymore, C. So there would have been if this candle broke and closed past pivots 1 and 2 right here. It only broke past pivot 1. So there's no entry there for a high-low momentum scalp. It would have been if this candle broke and closed past pivots 1 and 2, but there was a lower low right here. And then the momentum signal came up, but it didn't break and close past pivots 1 and 2. So unfortunately, no entry there for the high-low momentum scalp. Visual Trader said Fed speaks at 8 a.m. Yeah, they're speaking right now, actually. Visual Trader. Did you see the calendar? Bowman speaks. He's been speaking since 6 o'clock, or he was supposed to start at 6 o'clock. There was Fed member Williams speaking at 5:45. Fed member Williams Bowman speaking at 6 o'clock, which is 6:39 right now. So he should still be speaking, or he was speaking on open. And then we have Powell speaking at 8 o'clock. So the Fed was speaking at the time of open. That's why the market was kind of moving kind of crazy, because if you mark up from 6 o'clock up until now, that's when the market started to kind of pick up a bit. So 5:45 right here is when the Fed started speaking, and this is when price started to come down. Right? 5:45, the first Fed member, what was it? Fed member Williams was speaking, and then Bowman started speaking over here at 6 o'clock. They usually speak for about 30 minutes. So market opened at 6:30. And that's when the price started to drop super heavily right here. That's why the market's moving kind of crazy, because the Fed's speaking. So you can check any calendar. They're right here on Forex Factory. You could also check my FX book. They're also right here. He's actually still speaking right now. You can see right here if it's lit up. Yeah, right there, Bowman. So you can see right here, Bowman, medium news, Fed member Williams, and then Powell speaking over here at 8, which is high impact. And everyone else is going to be pretty much, for the most part, medium, if not high. But Powell's for sure going to be high. So it looks like the trade's still running, guys. I don't know if anybody's in the position. I canceled mine, so I'm not in the position, but it's still technically running right now. We'll follow it, but I'm not in the position at all. So just keep that in mind, guys. If you guys are looking to take it, it's a bit of a risky move in my opinion. That's why I canceled it. I would probably, if you're in the position, I'd probably, close out in profit, or move your stop loss in profit if you have the opportunity. Still bouncing around that area. I mean, it's active right now. It's active. It's now in profit. Let me go and mark this up right here. Mark up opening price. Yeah, it's just not a good day to trade. I mean, like we talked about this yesterday. We already know the Fed was going to speak this morning. And I mentioned the market is probably going to move a little crazy because obviously the Fed's speaking. And that's why I was a little more cautious about today. Even like before the market opened, I said, be careful and be a little more cautious, because the only times that the liquidity pushes, and see, this is why I'm glad I canceled my order, because I knew something like this was going to happen. Huge spikes in price, like these aren't necessarily random spikes. These spikes are because the Fed's currently speaking right now. I don't know what they would have said. They probably said something good that would have affected the market, or they probably said something bad. I don't know. A lot of things could have happened based off like what they said. So for my testing, I've been testing the liquidity push strategy like pretty much for the past 2 months. The only times that it loses is when there's like high impact news or medium impact news close to entry point. So market opened over here at 6:30. This entry happened at about 6:31, right? So 6:31 at 6 o'clock, the Fed was speaking. So like a lot of market reaction right here is based off the Fed Bowman. So that's why I was mentioning. So, whenever we see an entry like this, guys, I'm gonna let you guys know if it's risky or not, and I'll let you guys know if I'm entering or not. Like typically, if it's really risky, I'm probably gonna either hold off on entering it right away, or I'm just gonna go for 100 pips. I probably could have went for 100 pips here. No, I would have missed it. It would have been short just by like 1 pip or 10 pips. But I didn't, because I knew price was gonna do something weird like this. So see if there's anything else over here. Tyler said, I'll keep in mind for the future. If it pushes down that too fast, got to wait for a nice consolidation with a breakout. That's a good one. Yeah, no, that's what we've been doing, Tyler. So like pretty much every day, like yesterday with the entry that showed up, I mentioned, whenever you see something that's overextended like this, you typically want to see some sort of consolidation prior, either a retracement, consolidation, or a range. Because after that consolidation or range, it's going to, end up with a breakout. Like for example, right here, you guys can see this green candle. So like typically, if price is overextended like this, price will go into a consolidation phase, which is like this right here. Price just consolidates a little bit. And then eventually, it ends up breaking out, whether it be to the upside or to the downside. So like if you see consolidation right here, and then say, for example, you have liquidity sitting like right here on the bottom, if price ends up breaking out, it's going to break out into your liquidity and blast right through your TP. So that's typically why you want to wait for something like that to happen. But anyways, guys, there's no entries for us to take right now. I haven't taken anything yet. I canceled my order here, thankfully, because I would have gotten caught in that trade, but I canceled it when it was still sitting around the middle. It took too long to fill my order, and I just don't usually see the market move sideways like that for that long. So that's why I just canceled it. And from there, we're going to look for another entry. So we currently don't have anything right now specifically, but we're looking for any possible high level momentum scalps. In order for us to have a sell here, we need to have a higher high produce somewhere up this area. And once we get something like that, we'll cash, the push down back to the downside. But other than that, we just don't have anything here yet. So if there's any questions that you guys have, feel free to put your questions in the chat. We'll take a look at the overall bias right now. So let's look at the fundamentals real quick. Fundamentals are currently up 43 points. This is another reason why I probably would have been a little careful with the sell, because the fundamentals here were bullish. Also looking over here at retail sentiment is currently 56% short. They're not very strong in one side, but they are 56% short. So if this is bullish and this is like somewhat bullish, then I probably would have looked for a possible buy instead of a sell. So there's nothing for us to take right here, right now. Looking over here at the overall trend as well, if you guys saw from earlier this morning, I mentioned the higher time frames were bullish. So that's another reason why I said to maybe look out for trades in this direction, because the shorter time frames were pretty much neutral. So if you guys remember from earlier this morning, I mentioned the higher time frames, 30-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour time frames were all bullish. The reason for that is because price is above the pivots, the trend meter is green, and the pivots are all angling up. On the shorter time frames over here, price is pretty much neutral. The 1 minute was bearish, the 5 minute was neutral right in between the pivots, and the 10-minute here was neutral as well, right between the pivots. So, if you look at the bias here, there's not really much of a strong bias for a sell. It was just the 1 minute time frame. The fundamentals were not bearish, and the retail sentiment was also not bearish. I know it's not necessary for you to look at the overall bias, but it is useful, especially on a day like this where you're not sure where price is going to go. So for me personally, price can really go in either direction because there's no strong bias yet, but the bias right now is bullish. It's neutral bullish because the higher time frames are bullish. The shorter time frames here are neutral. Fundamentals are bullish, and retail sentiment here is bullish as well. So there's a lot of different moving pieces, guys. Like you can't just focus just on technicals here. Like technicals are cool from time to time, but you have to use other biases to really confirm the direction that you want to trade in. Right now, I don't really have a direction, but if I was to choose, I probably would wait for price to swing up and provide some sort of opportunity to the buy side. So, well, we just got to wait and see where this ends up going, but at the moment, there's just nothing for us to take right now. So I'd probably look for, I would say price may come up and retest the opening price here, but I don't want to say that yet because we don't have a confirmation. If I saw a V1 variation somewhere on the bottom, then maybe I could see price pushing up to opening price. But at the moment, I just don't see anything here right now, specifically. What was that? My MC4 popped open a box. My order got canceled, right? Okay, it did. Yeah, my MC4 kind of acts up sometimes. There's random pop-ups will pop up and stuff. Let's see. iPhone said if price goes to the higher high liquidity area, will that be an entry? I mean, technically it would be an entry for liquidity on the upside right here. Like if price does push up, this would technically still be an area of liquidity, but it's pretty far off. So if price does get to that point right there, it's a bit overextended, right? So if you go over here and just mark up price, it's a bit far. So if you mark up this area down here, up to here, it's about 1,300 pips. So like if price does push up, you would want it to be a bit of a messy push up, not a straight push to the upside. So you kind of want a messy push to the upside. Like you want something to push up, retrace, push up, consolidate, retrace, and then break out to the upside like that. You want something like this, like something messy. Because if you just get something that's straight up to the upside, like something like this, when price gets to this point, it's probably going to retrace down super hard. So you don't want a clean push to the upside. You actually want something that's messy. Like you don't want something like this, because once price gets to this point, it might just come right back down. You want something that's kind of like push up, retrace, push up, consolidate, retrace, push up, consolidate, breakout. Something like that. And it's probably not going to be smooth because a lot of people are probably going to sit out of the market until Powell speaks. As you guys can see, volatility is here starting to die down a little bit. Volume's going to start to slow down because a lot of people are either calling it a week or they're just waiting for Powell to speak. Powell doesn't speak until 8 o'clock. So a lot of people might just wait for him to speak. So if you see the market just go sideways for like the next hour, it's because people are waiting for Powell to speak here. And then when Powell speaks, people are going to start making their moves. So, I mean, we'll see where this ends up going. But at the moment, there's just nothing for us to look at. D said we did have a double body on the lower low. Yeah, so the push-up started from down here, which is what Dan identified right here. There's a double body V1 variation, basically, pattern. Not one I would take because, or actually technically you could have taken this as a V1 pattern because the overall bias was bullish, right? So this here actually did meet criteria. Higher time frames here are bullish. Fundamentals are bullish. Retail sentiment was bullish. So with that said, yeah, you probably would have been able to take the V1 variation down there if you really wanted to. Yeah, he said if it was opposite of what you were waiting for. So no way. Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't have taken it because it would have been opposite. Like this technically would have been liquidity, and I would have expected this to just keep dropping even further, right? So yeah, for me personally, I wouldn't have. Why does this thing keep coming up? Oh, I was like, my MC Forex, I keep accidentally clicking on this number here. It tried to set an order for like 1,000 lots. So every time I like clicked away from my MT4, this box would come up and say not enough money because it was attempting to execute 1,000 lot size. So even if I had that pending order, it looks like it wouldn't have even filled because I had accidentally set my lot size to 1,000, and it's impossible to set 1,000 lot size on MT4. All right, so let's see where this ends up going. So I'll probably be looking for any possible, V1 variations, because I think this, if it continues to push up higher, then it's probably going to reach this next area up here, because that's where liquidity is sitting, right? So price continues to push up higher from where it's currently at. Target price point is going to be liquidity, of course. So I would preferably look for, high level momentum scalps to the upside, or even V1 variations if they do come up. iPhone is asking, hey, is Powell usually good for the market? Not how he used to be. So during COVID, he was good for the market because he would typically say good things about the market, but we're going into a recession, so not necessarily. Powell's kind of iffy now. He's not the same as how he used to be. Back then, whatever he would say, he would just print money. Price would just go up higher because he would just keep printing money. Now we're reaching the debt ceiling, and it just pushes up higher, and nothing's getting better. Like our debt just keeps getting worse. Inflation's going up, the recession's getting worse, etc. So I wouldn't necessarily say Powell's good for the market. He could be good for the market if he says good things, but he's not always saying good things. He's kind of mixed now. During COVID, it was easy because he just kind of gave hope every day. Every time he spoke during COVID, he just said, okay, the market's going to get better. COVID's going to go away. People are going to stop getting sick. Now it's just all about money. It's about the recession. It's about inflation. It's about the debt ceiling. So I wouldn't necessarily just take buys just because Powell's speaking, because he spoke last week and price went down. So it's not like how it used to in the past. Let's see. Rem said most are calling for a higher close today, so might see lots of nasty pullbacks to squeeze longs. Yeah, and I agree too, Rem, 100%. So yeah, for Powell, if he does speak and he has good things to say, then price may go up. From what I see here, I think he may have good things to say because like pretty much all morning, price has been dropping, right? So market opened up, or the Fed started speaking over here at like 5:30 or 5:45. So ever since the Fed started speaking, price just kept coming down, down, down. So usually if the other Fed members don't have good things to say, Powell usually has something good to say. So that's where you can kind of balance it. If he's just trading by himself, then, or if he's just speaking by himself, then it's kind of mixed. But since you can see over here, the reaction to the previous Fed members, price just came down a little bit, came down a little bit. I think what might happen is when Powell speaks at 8 o'clock, price might come down sharply and then it'll just correct right back up. But I think for the most part, price will probably go to the upside today. It'll probably close with a higher high. In my opinion, that's kind of just what I see happening. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen, but that's kind of what I see happening there. Satyam said 1v1 at liquidity is not good. Yeah, I agree, Satyam. I wouldn't take that. All right, there's no high-low momentum scalp here, guys. In order for there to be a high-low momentum scalp, we need a higher high. There's a lower high right here, so it's not going to fit criteria. Hey, Hussein, how's it going? Morning. Let's see. CJ said, Quick Trader gave me a weird error. Allow the live trading in the expert advisor properties. I don't even see the option under expert advisor properties. I had that issue before, CJ, in the past. You'd have to reopen it. Like you might want to restart your MT4, because that's what I did, and then go back into your settings. I think your MT4 might have just updated, because it happened to me last time when MT4 updated for me. So you might have to just reset it and then go back into your settings and re-enable it. So when you go over to your quick trade manager, just right click on it, go to the settings, and then go over to like where it says auto trade stuff, and you can turn it on from there. And try what Maria mentioned too. So there's an auto trading button on top. Just make sure that that's enabled, because that might help too. All right. Hussein's asking, can I learn a strategy and trade on my own? Yes, you can. That's what majority of people do. So if you go on the website, I mentioned the website to you before, Hussein. I think that's how you found us. If you just go on the website. So again, if you guys are new here and you guys want to learn the strategies that we're teaching or that we're applying, just go to the website, kodikaitrades.com, click on unlock your free access right here. If you click on that there, it'll give you access to the course, and the course will give you pretty much a rundown as to like how to, and I'm pretty sure you're part of the course already, Hussein, so you have access to it. You just don't have access to the indicators or the live stream, which is what you would need to apply the strategies. But yeah, if you go into the course, there's a bunch of videos there. Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys here. It's a bit of a crazy market right now. There's not really much direction. Price is just going back and forth, as you guys can see here on the clean chart. There's not really much going on, right? Price is just going up, coming back down. The range is still pretty tight, so we need to get new higher highs and lower lows in between so that we can squeeze a little bit tighter. But for the moment, there's just nothing for us to necessarily take right now. Price is just going back and forth. I wouldn't take any random trades, guys. So like if you guys are looking for an entry, make sure that there's an actual entry. Don't just like hop into a random buy or a random sell because you think price is going to go in that direction. If you see a V1 variation or something like that in the direction of the bias, then go ahead and take it. But definitely don't just force anything. So this is what the course looks like, guys. If you guys sign up to the course, you guys can see there's a ton of videos here. I'm going to make a revamp of the course. I'm going to reorganize everything so that everything is kind of in order. I mean, the stuff is in order here, but I want to make it a little more straightforward. So I will recreate this is probably going to take a long time though, like maybe up to the end of the year until I'm done with it. But yeah, if you guys sign up, this is what the course is going to look like. You guys will see all the videos here. The only video that you won't find will be the liquidity push, because I don't necessarily teach that to everybody. You can find that in the most recent mentoring session. So if you go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/KodiKaiTrades, just pull up any mentoring session for the past, 4 or 5 weeks right here, and you'll see my explanation. But I don't have an actual video on that specific strategy because it's very risky. Like for example, today, this entry right here, if you took the liquidity push that was down here, it would have been a loss, right? But if you listened to my analysis before, you would have skipped it like I did. I mentioned, price was overextended, so I waited for the pullback. As I waited for the pullback, I put my pending order there. It never filled. And then price went sideways, so I ended up canceling it. So if you followed like basically my entire analysis of like why I didn't take the trade, you would have just skipped the trade like me. So I don't teach that strategy because that's something that I can't necessarily teach to you directly, right? That's something that I know how to identify, and I know how, like, it's just like the way I know how to look at the market. Like everything here is second nature to me. So I saw that price was overextended. So I was like, okay, wait for the retracement. Price never came back down to fill. And then price started ranging and consolidating here. So I just canceled it. A lot of things like that is just stuff that you have to know. Like you have to have the experience to understand how the market moves and understand when it's, a good time to pull. Because the trade might as well could have hit TP, but I already had a feeling that I wasn't going to, so that's why I pulled out of it. But all right, guys, if there's any questions that you guys have, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, there's nothing for us to take right now. There's currently a sell signal here that's now pending. It's not necessarily going to fit criteria for a high level momentum scalp, but it may be a possible entry for a pivot scalp. The only thing with this here is that there is no overall bias with regard to, a sell here. There needs to be an overall bias in order for you to take that as a pivot scalp. So I probably wouldn't take it myself, and I wouldn't recommend anybody else take it. But, certain people over here will necessarily take it still, even though it's not one that I would personally take. So looking over here on the 1 minute, it's bearish. Well, it's not even bearish. It's more so neutral. You can see the trend meter down below is blue. Price is in between the pivots. The 5 minute here is also neutral. And the 10 minute here is actually neutral bullish. So there's no bias over here for a sell. So it's actually not very good to take a sell right now. I probably would look for price to swing back to the upside. Back to the fundamentals real quick. Fundamentals are still very bullish. Not very bullish, but they're pretty bullish. As you guys can see across the board, everything here is pretty much bullish. Dow's up 53 points, S&P is up 10 points, Nasdaq's up 4 points, Russell 2K is up 7 points, and the VIX is currently up less than 1%. Looking over here at retail sentiment, a lot of people are trying to stack up on these sells. You can see price here increased. It was currently 55% short earlier. Now it's 57% short. So this is going to indicate where the retail traders are currently trading right now. So you typically want to do the opposite of them. So I'd probably be looking for buys here. The fundamentals are starting to push to the upside. And I would just look for this to swing back up if and when that becomes the case. I don't know when it'll happen, but I think eventually, if you get a V1 variation somewhere over here, then it's probably going to swing to the upside. So if you guys are not familiar with the V1 variation, that's a reversal pattern. So I'd probably look for, possible double body, double wick, and correction back to the upside. Hussein's asking, which strategy do you use the most of the times among the course? On these live sessions, we mainly apply the high-level momentum scalp and the liquidity push, Hussein. There's over 30 strategies there, and they all work fine. So what I recommend is find a strategy that you like and just stick to that one strategy. It doesn't matter what strategy you pick. There's going to be times where it works very well and sometimes where it just works like every so often. But all the strategies in the course work very well. So just find one that you like and then just focus on that one. There's no point in learning like all the strategies because you're just going to confuse yourself. So Yeah, if you learn any of the strategies, I recommend just sticking to like one or two, or just one. Once you master that, move on to the next one. But I wouldn't recommend, you know, learning like 5 or 10 strategies at once, because you're just going to confuse the criteria and requirements. All right, so this might be a V2 variation right here if it closes as a strong, green candle. If you guys are familiar with that. V2 variation is basically a low with a red candle and followed by a green candle that's strong in the direction of overall bias. Long-term bias is bullish, so we'll see. Doesn't look too strong yet. There's a wick on top. It has to close with basically little to no wick on the top side. Yeah, there's no V2 there. Wick on top's a little too big. Let's see, question from C. C's asking, there's a red momentum signal. So if we get a double body or double wick rejection, that will be a bullish V1. It would be a bullish V1, but it's not going to be a very clean one, see, because you need an overall bias. The bias right now is bullish, but it's not very strong. So technically, yes, it would be an entry. But actually, so never mind. It wouldn't be an entry anymore because the 5 minute over here is no longer neutral. Like we would rather have this neutral than bearish. You can see on the 5 minutes now bearish because price is below the pivots, trend meter is red, and the pivots are now angling down. If price was like in between right here, or even better, if it was above, then that would meet criteria because you'd have the overall bias for a buy, right? Right now, it's more so a neutral bias because, so let me just review everything again. So there's basically 3 different pillars to identify overall bias. First, you want to check what the trend is, right? You want to check the short-term trend. Short-term trend right here is, and you can determine whether it's bullish or biased with regards to where price is below or above the pivots, what color the trend meter is, and how the pivots are angling. So if you can see over here, and it's going to be hard to tell because you can see how price is now pushing back up. It's going back into a neutral bias. So before this was like pretty much neutral. This was all neutral, but everything else was bullish, right? This is bullish, not very strong. It needs to be above 100 points for it to be strong. And this over here needs to be negative 65%, 60 to 65%. If it's not around that area, it's not going to be a strong bias. So, I mean, technically, yeah, if you got a V1 variation, it could possibly be an entry, but it's not going to be a good one or a strong one because you need to have some sort of bias there. Like it would be different if price was down below here and the fundamentals were like up like 120 points and then this was 65% short. If that was the case, then yeah, I would take a V1 variation. But with where price is currently at right now, it's just kind of it's very indecisive. I think a lot of people are just sitting out and waiting for Powell to speak. That's why price just keeps going back and forth, right? Here's a clean chart right here. You can see there's not really much direction. Price just keeps pulling back to opening price right here. And as soon as it pulls back to that area, it just bounces, right? So price pushes up, consolidates, pulls back, pushes up, consolidates, pulls back. And it's just going to keep going back and forth between this area. So at the moment, I wouldn't really take any trades, whether it's a buy or a sell, because you want to have some sort of direction before you look for any entries here. I think overall price will be bullish though. So, I mean, yeah, if you want to take a shot at it, I would probably look for buys. So I'd look for V1 variations if and when they do come up. But you want to be very selective about which ones you decide to take. All right, there's a possible buy signal right here coming up. Hussein's asking, does the strategy still work? I mean, yeah, of course it works. I wouldn't be using it if it didn't. Yeah, if it didn't work, I wouldn't be using the strategies. Hussein, I'm not here to lose. I'm here to win. So all the strategies we're applying here, they obviously still work. There's just no entries up here. So there's nothing for us to take right now. There's a buy signal right here, but there's no lower low. So you need a lower low in order for it to be an entry. So there's nothing for us to take right now, guys. We're still looking for price to kind of bounce around and provide us some direction, but there's just no direction right now. And I'm up pretty heavy for the week so far. So like necessarily, I'm not really looking to take anything too risky. We had a pretty good early start this week, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, price kind of slowed down a bit. And today prices, I mean, it's pretty much, there's no direction today. So same difference. Hussein's asking, this is the link on your YouTube channel and taking trades after 6:30. Sorry, Hussein, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Because there's a lot of links on the YouTube channel. So Hussein said, this is the link of your YouTube channel and taking trades after 6:30. Yeah, because we trade from 6:30 to 8. So all the trades are going to be after 6:30. The live session doesn't, I mean, we don't start trading until after 6:30. So every single trade we do take is after 6:30. If you look at any of the trades that we took yesterday or like the day before that, you know, everything here is after 6:30. This was at 6:53. This was at 6:39. Everything's going to be after 6:30. There's nothing that's going to happen before it. I mean, there's trades you can take, but we're not going to have anything on the live session before that. All right, let's see some profits over here from you guys. So Maria over here took a partial move of the liquidity push earlier, total profit of 295 for the day, all wins. So nice work right there, Maria. We got Dejan over here, total profit of 1,120. Looks like he got in early to that liquidity push, pulled out very early. So nice work right there, Dejan. We got Patricia over here, total profit of 5,200 for the day. Nice work right here, Patricia. She took quite a bit of trades, but they all pretty much ended up in some pretty solid profit. So yeah, Patricia said some small losses, had a trailing stop with the liquidity push at open, and she took that push to the downside. Nice win over there, total profit of 5,200 for the day. Here's Andrew. He took the liquidity push. He took it right on entry. He said a small setback, but we're still going to pass. Yeah, exactly. So Andrew over here, unfortunately, had a loss off the liquidity push. He entered it right away, and that's completely fine, guys. If you guys want to work on your trade psychology, you guys have to take the trade right away. Otherwise, you're just going to be scared every time the trade comes up. So it's fine, Andrew, small loss right there, and you'll bounce back, you know, on the next move. Maddie over here currently up 1,345 for the day, all wins. Maddie said that he's now done for the day. Yeah, that's solid, Maddie. So Maddie is pretty much all done. All right. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, you know, feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, there's just nothing for us to take right here, right now. As I mentioned, I probably would be looking for some buys here, but there's no buy entries for us to take. There was a buy signal that came up right here, but it didn't meet any criteria for any strategy that I can think of. In order for us to have an entry, we need to have some sort of overall bias. Looking over here on the shorter time frames, price is pretty much either neutral or bearish, right? So until price pushes above and kind of hangs out, we're not really going to have too much opportunity here for entry. So, you know, price just keeps going sideways right here and not really much direction. Looking back over here at the fundamentals, price isn't really doing anything. It's still at 54 points. You know, typically we want it to be above 100 points or below 100 points, but right now it's just right down the middle. So it's pretty much neutral for the most part. It's bullish neutral, but it's not very strong. Sentiment over here as well hasn't changed at all. This is typical for a Friday though. So we usually don't even trade very much on Friday. You know, sometimes there's really good days on Friday. Sometimes it's just like this where it's flat. The sentiment here isn't changing too much. So you can see the retail traders are kind of just sitting out. They're not really one-sided. But here it goes, price pushes up a little higher. As you can see over here, let's go back to the clean chart. As I mentioned earlier, guys, price just keeps getting pulled back to the opening price here. Price will pull away from it, pull back, retrace, pull back, push up, pull back, etc. But yeah, this whole area right here is just, this is the range. The worst part about this is that it's not establishing new higher highs or lower lows. So we can't really even bring the range in tighter. You guys can see the range here is super far out. So there's no lower lows and there's no higher highs. Price is squeezing though. So as you guys can see here, price is getting tighter, which is a good thing in my opinion, because when price starts to squeeze like this, it's preparing for a breakout. So breakout's either going to happen to the upside or it's going to happen to the downside. I don't know exactly when, but I do anticipate that. I know, Maddie, right? Let's see. Satyam said he took liquidity from 627 with 700 pips win, so not risking anything today. Satyam said I will break my 5-trade rule and sit it out. Yeah, exactly. So Satyam over here actually took the liquidity push, but he took it like way earlier. So when price started to drop down here, he took the first area of liquidity that was up here that happened pre-market. He took that for the drop all the way down to the bottom. So he made about 700 pips on this drop right here. So huge win for Satyam right there. So nice work on catching that. I mean, I wouldn't have taken that myself because I think pre-market is very risky, especially when the Fed is speaking. But I'm glad that you locked in some profit off that. All right, let's see, question from Rick. Rick is asking, when you are copying trades to other platforms, are you using a program to take the trades or are you entering them manually on other platforms? I use Social Trader Tools, Rick. So that's the tool that I use. It's my trade copier. That's why you can see over here, whenever I do take trades, I haven't taken a trade today yet, but when I do take trades, you guys can see that, or where's my profits? So Rick, you can see right here, there's a list of all these different accounts, right? These are all my accounts. So I have an FTMO number 1, number 2, and then I have 3 MFFs down here. So my main account is this green one right here, where it has my full TP strip. This is my main account, and it just copies to all my other accounts. This is my second FTMO account. I'm fully funded with FTMO 400K. And then here's my MFF accounts right here. You can see the profit's a little different. It's not always going to be the same because it copies over. There's going to be slippage. So right here, you can see it's 3,070, 3,070, and the third one is like 3,020. So, and the same with my main account. You can see my main account here is 6,900 and my FTMO copier was 6,700. So sometimes it'll be the same if the volatility is not all crazy, but for the most part, it's going to be a little different. MFF is always going to be short though. Well, they've been short for the last couple months now. Yeah, no problem, Rick. So if you want to check that out, it's called Social Trader Tools. That's what I personally use. Let me see if I can pull up the website. So yeah, I'm not sponsored by them at all. I've been using them for a couple of years and they've been solid, no problem with them at all. Yeah, this is the one I use, Social Trader Tools. You got to pay for it though, so that's the downside. You do have to pay for it, but I think, if you're consistent enough, it's going to be well worth it because your one trade is going to, multiply. Instead of having like 1 win, you're going to have like 5 wins or 2 wins, depending on how many accounts you have. Hey, Jack, how's it going? Jake said, hello, today I'm late, nap stretched out. Yeah, no, you're fine. You didn't miss anything. The market's been going back and forth today. The Fed's scheduled to speak. They've been speaking all morning. We had Fed member Bowman and Fed member Williams, I believe, pre-market. Yeah, Fed member Williams and Bowman pre-market. Then we have Powell speaking at 8 o'clock. So guys, you guys got to remember that FOMC, this is the Fed, right? Just because it says Fed chair here doesn't mean that these people are not Fed members as well. These are all Fed members. Fed Powell is obviously going to be the highest impact speaking member because he's the chair. What he says stands, but everybody's going to have their opinion, right? Everybody here is part of the Fed. So just keep that in mind, guys. Just because it says Fed here doesn't mean that Powell is the only Fed member. These are all Fed members as well. So if you guys are not familiar with like what the FOMC stands for, because I feel like some people don't realize that so the Fed is short for Federal Open Market Committee, right? Everybody here is in the committee. Powell's just he's the top, the head of the committee. So That's why people always refer to him as the Fed, but he's not the Fed. He's like a member of the Fed. He's just like the leader. Everybody's a member of the Fed who speaks from FOMC. Because I get that question a lot. People are always like asking like if it matters if the other members are speaking. It definitely matters, because if you look over here, like on my FX book, it's medium news when they speak. So anything above low is going to be somewhat relevant. All right, there's nothing for us to take here right now, guys. I mean, there's no V1 variations. There's not really much of anything here. There's technically a V1 variation right here, but there's no bias for a sell, so I wouldn't have taken it. But yeah, this here would have been technically a V1 variation that I wouldn't have not have taken. Right there, it would have hit CP, but I wouldn't have taken it. Let's see, Jake said he uses Trade Copier by Duplicum. Yeah, there's a lot of different copiers out there. So the only one I've used is Social Trader Tools. I mean, you guys are free to use whatever you like, but the only one I have experience with is going to be Social Trader Tools. I'm going to give you guys like whatever I use. Like whatever I use, I'll tell you because I know it works, but I can't really say. There's a lot of trade copiers out there though. So you guys can try whichever you like. If you guys find one that's better than what I'm using, feel free to let me know and I'll give it a shot, because I'm always up to try new things. All right, there's nothing for us to take here. There's technically a V1 variation here for a buy, but it's not very, like, I don't really like how these candles come up like this, because they're technically not supposed to come up how they are here. It just looks like there was a price gap right here, and price actually dropped a little bit. Because if it opened on the same level and it dropped, it should have been down a little bit lower. So I wouldn't necessarily consider that a V1. I think there's a data gap right there, something of the sort. So I'm kind of looking at where price is currently at right now. It looks like price is attempting to shift back to the upside, but it's just not looking too good right now. As you guys can see, the 5-minute here is just pretty much right down the middle. It's straight neutral. The 10-minute as well. So the 10 and 5 are like literally right in between the pivots. It's not looking good at all. The 1 minute here is trying to make its way to the upside, but it's not having any luck either. It's kind of just going back and forth. But you guys can see that price is starting to squeeze even tighter. All right, so you guys can see right here, it's starting to squeeze into a triangle. When it starts to squeeze like this, it's just preparing for a breakout. So you could probably anticipate a breakout happening sometime soon. It's getting closer to 8 o'clock, because if you get closer to 8 o'clock, that's when Powell speaks. So you're going to see a lot of people starting to bet in the market. Yeah, Maddie said typical Fridays, just back at opening price, sitting around open. Yeah, exactly. It's doing exactly what I mentioned earlier, guys. So I did discuss with this to you guys. I mentioned that price is going to push away from opening price and just pull back to it. So that's exactly where it's been sitting all day. Opening price had the drop right here, pulled back, retraced, pulled back, retraced, pulled back. And now it's just right down the middle still. So not really too much here for us to work with. So, I mean, yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. I can help you guys with whatever you guys need help with. But right now, there's just nothing for us to take. Yeah, Maddie said Batman pattern printing for Sisu, guys. Sisu here. It's like Sisu didn't wake up for the day. Yeah, Sisu's favorite strategy, the Batman pattern. There's not much here. Here's Nathan. Nathan took a partial move off the liquidity earlier this morning too. So Nathan over here locked in a total profit of 410. So that's pretty solid. Profit's profit, guys. If you guys made profit today, great. If you guys didn't take anything today, you guys are pretty much flat. That's good too. For me, I would prefer to not take any trades rather than to eat a loss, especially entering into the weekend. Entering into the weekend and having a loss is probably like the worst feeling, because you're going to think about it all weekend. So for me personally, I'd rather be a little more careful and just like take something if it does come up and it's useful. But right now, there's just nothing for us to take. Let me check the calendar for next week to see if we have anything crazy happening. Okay, so for a Monday, we don't have anything. Oh, it's a bank holiday, I believe. Or no, it's not. I think next week is a bank holiday. But for this Monday, there's nothing there. Tuesday, we have flash manufacturing PMI. So a lot of inflation news over here on Tuesday. New home sales. So we got a heavy news day on Tuesday. We have flash manufacturing PMI, flash services PMI, new home sales, Richmond manufacturing index. So we might not have a liquidity push on Tuesday because Fed member Logan is speaking at 6 o'clock, and then we have inflation news at 6:45. If we open market at 6:30, it's probably going to be a little too close to. Actually, we might have a liquidity push. If it happens like right on open, then we'll have a liquidity push. We might have one on Monday. There's no news on Monday. Tuesday, maybe. There's news at 6:45. So if it doesn't happen too early, then we're just not going to have it because it's going to be too close to news. On a Wednesday, we have Treasury Secretary Yellen speaking at 7:05. It's going to be a little tricky, but if we have the liquidity push early on open, then we will possibly have opportunity on Wednesday as well. Thursday, we have some pre-market news, prelim GDP, and unemployment claims, etc. So we do have news there, and we have news at 7. So Thursday, maybe some liquidity push if it's like anything not out of this. I mean, this news event might spike price or it might not. If it does, then great. If it doesn't, then it might be a little risky because it might have a late reaction on open. And then Friday, we have some more news pre-market. So we have a pretty decent week of news next week. Right now, guys, price is not really doing much. As you guys can see, it's doing exactly what I mentioned. It's just going down the middle of opening price. So as you guys can see this blue line right here, this is where market opened today. Price is going to push away from it. It's just going to pull back. It acts as like a magnet. It's just going, back and forth between this area. Let's see. Patricia said it's moving in between the original liquidity lines you had on earlier. The first ones, right, Patricia? Yeah, the 10-minute ones. Yeah, pretty much. It's just going back and forth between this area and opening price. And look where price pulled back to, opening price, right? It's just a magnet. So what I think is going to happen here is price is just going to keep pulling to this area until Powell speaks over here at 8 o'clock. So Powell starts speaking right here at this blue line. I think price will just keep going back and forth between this area and go sideways. And then once Powell speaks here at 8 o'clock, that's where you're going to get the crazy push. You're going to get the crazy push to the upside, or you're going to get the crazy push to the downside. And it's just going to be a total mess. I do expect them to probably push price up though. So that's it. In my perspective, I think price will go up higher. But I mean, I don't know. You'll have to see how that ends up going because market we're in is kind of it's kind of unpredictable, to say the very least. Because we really don't know what Powell's going to say. Let me check my trade calendar over here.
You're listening to Trade the News.
The comments from the Czech Republic Central Bank Vice Governor just saying if wages grow by 9 to 10% could be a reason for more board members to support a rate hike.
So I'm on this website that I turned this shit off.
KQ Corporation just
there we go.
So dollar-denominated 5-year and 10-year notes. For the 5-year note, the guy was seeing 263 basis points above, and for the 10-year.
Sorry,
you're listening to Trade the News.
Okay, I turned it off. Anyways, so I follow this website. It's called Trade the News. It has like not a podcast, but it's just a live stream. And they basically discuss the news event. I probably should have had this open earlier when the Fed was speaking because we could probably understand like what they were saying. But yeah, they don't really have any news here for what they anticipate Powell to speak yet. Let me see if I can find anything here. This is a paid website, so like I don't know if anybody you don't really need it. It's not necessary. It's just, it's an addition to like what you would already have. So you can see over here, it says Fed member Bowman, he's a voter. It says banking system is strong despite recent stress. Don't use bank failures as a pretext for more regulation. So right here, it says that Fed Bowman was saying actually good things about the economy. That's probably why price kind of spiked back up. So at 6 o'clock, Bowman over here, it said not to depend too much on the the bank failures, and that the economy is doing okay. So that's kind of probably what pushed price up earlier this morning. So like from earlier this morning, price came down, and then as soon as he started speaking at 6 o'clock, it just started to push price right back up. So we'll see where this ends up continuing to go, but at the moment it's kind of just bouncing back and forth at this area. It looks like there may be a high-low momentum scalp or a high-low scalp that might have came up right there. I think it already probably hit TP though. Almost. But yeah, I was trying to see like what the predictions are for Powell, but there's nothing here. It says Fed Williams voter pandemic impact on natural rate has proved modest. Pandemic didn't end era of very low rates. Okay. So I mean, basically it says that like the Fed here had good things to say, but for whatever reason, price was going down during that time. Because they started speaking right here at 545, and then price just ended up tumbling, and then it started correcting once it got down to this low point. But yeah, I mean, right now there's nothing really much going on. Price might just pull back to this area, but if it continues pushing up, great. If not, then it's not really too much for us to do here. William is asking, how was it a high-low scalp? It's a high-low scalp because it broke and flows past the high-low. You're mixing up the strategies, William. A high-low scalp isn't a high-low momentum scalp. You're referring to a high-low momentum scalp, not a high-low scalp. And Daniel too, yeah. Yeah, so you guys are confusing the strategies. They're two different strategies. High-low scalp is when price breaks and closes past the high-low with momentum. So like there was a bullish momentum right here. I mean, there probably wasn't an overall bias, but if there was an overall bias, that would have been the case. So right now it's not really strong for a bullish bias. I mean, it's pretty much bullish neutral because the 5-minute here is still neutral, but the 10-minute is bullish and the 1 minute's bullish. I think the fundamentals over here are also bullish. They're not very strong though. So you need a strong bullish bias. 75 points in the green, so it's not super strong. And then looking over here at sentiment, it's not super strong either. But I mean, technically it would still be a high-low scalp if you were looking for, something like that. I wouldn't necessarily take it. I just wanted to point it out if you guys are looking for entries. But yeah, those are two different strategies. This would be a high-low scalp. High-low momentum scalp is where you need the higher, lower, low. So we don't have that yet, but hopefully we'll get it soon. I mean, I don't know. We might get it. We might not. Can't really say for sure. There goes a new higher high. Looks like Sisu just joined the room. Sisu, you missed out on your favorite pattern, the Batman pattern that Maddie was looking at. Like Sisu's just waking up. Sisu has like the weirdest sleeping schedule. If you ever see Sisu go online, you'll see him just pop into the chat and he'll be like chatting it up like at like 3 a.m. And then on the weekend, he'll be chatting it up at like 2 a.m. But yeah, Sisu just joined the room. All right, so there's no entries for us to take right now, guys. I was just mentioning the high-low scalp that came up right there. I'm not in the position, but I just wanted to show you guys, for those who wanted to look for something to take. I'm not in the position. I'm not really taking anything too risky right now. I'm pretty satisfied with my profits for the week. I did pretty good on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I'm doing pretty solid so far. I don't really want to risk it. There's no need for me to risk anything, because if I do lose a trade, I'm going to be basically throwing away profits or giving profits back when I could have just, bagged it. Yeah, C6 said Powell speaking today. Yeah, he's speaking in about like 20 minutes at 8 o'clock. Rick is asking, is there a strategy that hits more often than others? I mean, they're all pretty equal, Rick. I don't give any strategies that are like low quality. So all the strategies that we have here, they're all pretty high win rate. Obviously there's going to be strategies that come up more often than others during certain time periods. Right now, the market's just going sideways. So there's not really going to be any entries for any strategies. All the strategies are based off momentum. So if there's no direction in the market, there's not going to be any entries for us to take. I mean, it depends on what you mean by what hits more often than others, right? Because they all hit. It's just how often do they actually come up? Because they all have a high win rate. Like all the strategies that we use have, above an 80 to 85% win rate. It's just determining, what type of market are we in? Is market like trading super heavily, or you can take a whole bunch of high-low scalps? Like for example, the entry that I showed you guys right here, this is one of a favorite that everybody takes, a high-low scalp, right? If the market's moving very directional, this trade's going to come up like 10 times, right? Like for example, it's pushing up right there. It's about to hit TP. The high-low momentum scalp, which is one of the official strategies that we use, it comes up very often too, but it hasn't been coming up for the past 2 weeks. It doesn't mean that it's not hitting. It's just not coming up. So if it does come up, it typically does hit, but we just don't have it right now. Not all strategies are going to come up 24 hours a day or like every single day. Sometimes it'll come up, some days we'll have like 5 entries. Some days it'll be 10 entries. Some days it'll be 0 entries. You can't base everything off like what's, you just can't base everything off like one thing like that. So just, something to keep in mind, because you don't want to be too like drilled in on like trying to figure out what's the best, because everything is the best. You just got to figure out what works for you. Because I can apply this strategy right here, Rick, and this can work perfectly fine for like 20 people in here, and it can work horrible for you, right? So what I recommend, like I don't know if that was, I think you're the one that asked in the chat yesterday, right? Because it looks like you're trying to look for the holy grail. You're looking for a holy grail strategy, and it's not going to work for you. Because like for me, I've been applying the liquidity pushes for like the past, 2 weeks now. I've been locking in like wins every single day, but not everybody's hitting wins on that, right? Because it doesn't resonate with everybody as much as it does with me. So for my profits over here, let's see, the only trades I've been taking for the most part, like I made the 6,000 here. This was a liquidity push. This doesn't mean you're going to make this much profit or that you're going to be this accurate at taking it. Pretty much the only trades I took this week were like liquidity pushes. This one right here, liquidity push. I didn't even take this for the full move. I took it for a partial move. So it does hit, but for me, I got scared with this position. So I moved my stop loss and profit. I locked in 960, but I did hit full TP. I was supposed to lock in 6,000 off that trade. I think on Monday we took like a high-low scalp. So this one right here, I locked in 7,000 off the same trade. So, I mean, just because it works for me or just because it works for like other people in the group doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, because, you don't have the same trade psychology. You don't have the same skills everyone does in entering the trades right away. So, my word of recommendation would be to find a strategy that you like and then just master that strategy. There's no holy grail to this. Like, there's going to be some days where the strategy you like comes up very often. There's going to be some days where it doesn't, but it's just really up to preference. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else here. Yeah, so William said no more confusing scalp methods. Yeah, exactly. So when you look at that strategy, when you look at the two strategies, William, you'll see that they're completely different. So once you actually know the strategy, you're not going to get them confused, because the high-low scalp only uses high lows, and the high-low momentum scalp uses high lows and momentum. So if there's no momentum, you're going to know it's a high-low scalp. If there is momentum, you're going to know it's a high-low momentum scalp. So yeah, what I recommend is, just go back and review the videos, William, and you'll figure it out. You'll see that they're like completely different. Like once you know the strategies, it's going to be hard to like really mix them up, because they're very different. So let me see if there's anything else here. Maddie said I'm gonna log off. Gonna get ready to go to Vegas for EDC. All right, Maddie, we'll see you here on Monday, bro. Have fun. Or you might not even be here on Monday. You'll probably be back here on Tuesday. So yeah, no, have fun, be safe. I can't do EDC anymore, guys. I stopped going to these festivals like maybe like 4 years ago, pre-COVID. Yeah, Daniel said he misses EDC. Daniel said I think I would die if I went to another 3-day festival. Yeah, no, same here, dude. I could probably go for like 1 day, but even that would still be too much for me. Rick said not looking for the holy grail, LOL, because you mentioned to start with one strategy. I was trying to get one that might hit more often, just trying to figure out what strategy to start. I mean, so that's the case, Rick. If you're trying to look for one strategy, then you are looking for the holy grail, right? Because you're looking for the best strategy. There's no best strategy. They're all the same. They all have very similar win rates. It just depends on what you prefer. Because if you weren't looking for a holy grail, like you can look at the course, Rick. Like I feel like you're looking for something very specific. Like you can pull up the course here. Like Rick, I'm gonna tell you to look at the first strategy, right? Look at the high-low momentum scalp because that's what we're applying here on the live session. I could tell you to look at this and I could almost guarantee you're not going to look at it. You're going to look at everything else here and still look for something that's better. So what I would tell you is to look at the high-low momentum scalp because that's what we do here on the live session, right? If it's the trade that we're applying here on the live, then obviously this one's got to be something that there's got to be something to it because it wouldn't be the main strategy that we're applying. There's only one main strategy that we're applying. We're applying this one and the liquidity push. Liquidity push is not something that I necessarily teach. There's no video on it aside from the mentoring sessions. So if you want to focus on one strategy, then this is the strategy for you to focus on. High-low momentum scalp. But, and I've been doing this for a while. Like, you're not the first person to come in and ask like, what's the best strategy or what strategy should I focus on? I've told so many people to look at this strategy and everybody, for whatever reason, gravitates towards the high-low scalp, right? Which is not even like easy to find here. If you scroll down, it's like in the scalping strategies down here. So I'll tell everybody to apply the main strategy because that's what we're applying here on the live sessions. But for whatever reason, people always go down to the scalping strategies and they prefer the high-low scalp or they prefer the pivot scalp or they prefer the V1 variation. These are probably the top 3 strategies that everybody like, or top 4 strategies: high-low scalp, pivot scalp, triple confluence, variation V1, and then high-low momentum as well. So, you just got to figure it out, Rick, because you can and then you'll apply the same exact strategy and make mistakes and it's not going to work. So, again, just go through the videos, Rick, and figure out what works for you. Focus on that one strategy, but there's not going to be one strategy to follow. There's high-low scalps that came up, and there was probably some pivot scalps that came up, and there's probably some, whatever strategy that came up, V1 variations. Like if you look over here in the other group, Satyam here only takes like V1s. So like he takes a lot of V1 variations. He takes like 5 trades a day and they all hit. But I don't necessarily recommend it to people because it's a little bit risky. Hussein's asking, all the strategies are based on your trading view indicators. Yes, that is correct. That's what makes them proprietary, Hussein. Because if they weren't based on the indicators, then like anybody could apply. I mean, technically you can apply these strategies without the indicators, but they're not going to be as accurate. I've seen a lot of people try to copy and like do their own thing. Like they try to copy my methods and do it on their own. But, there's a reason why I created the indicators. It pretty much gives you exact price points to look for, exact entry points, exact requirements. It's not as easy to mimic as you might think. I've been trading for like 10 years. So like a lot of my work and progress has been to be formatting a lot of these strategies based off the indicators. Because when you have the indicators right here, it gives you exact requirements. Like it's not like, okay, look if price reaches this point or if price reaches this point. It's like, okay, if price reaches a higher high and you have, and I just realized I missed the high-low scalp right here. I don't know if anybody took this trade. There's a high-low momentum scalp right here, but I totally missed it. Sorry, guys. I was too busy discussing stuff with everybody, but I missed it myself. There was a high-low momentum scalp right here that came up. It's fine because I was kind of not looking to take anything anyways, but there's a high-low momentum scalp here. I'll go over the criteria. This is for like a lot of the new members like Rick and Hussein. If you guys want to see, this is the main strategy that we apply here. So if you want to focus on this, then great. If you don't, then just find another one that works for you. So right here, identify a higher high. We have a higher high right here. Identify a valid momentum signal using the momentum indicator. There's a valid sell signal right here. Confirm price breaks and closes past pivots 1 and 2. So pivots 1 and 2 is going to be this green and blue pivot right here. If you guys are not familiar with what pivots what, just open up the indicator. You can just turn off the other pivots if you don't like them. So if you just want 1 and 2, you can just leave those on right there. Price broke and close past it right there. You want to make sure that it closes, and then you can enter on the close of the candle. So for example, here price closed at that point. You enter that for 100 pips. You let the trade run and full TP right there. So you guys can see right here that this fits the criteria, right? This is the strategy. So Rick, if you're looking for the strategy, you would have had an entry right there, right? Hussein, if you want to learn the strategy, again, this is like another opportunity right there that you could have taken. But yeah, guys, if you guys are new here, just watch the videos, right? You guys can ask as many questions as you like, but you're not going to learn anything until you actually watch the videos. Like you guys won't believe how many times I've heard somebody say, "Oh yeah, I'll watch the videos," or "I watch the videos," and then I ask them about the strategy, and they don't even know what I'm talking about because they haven't watched the videos. So, guys, nothing's gonna trump doing the actual work, right? You can ask them whatever questions you guys want, but if you guys don't do the work and actually watch the videos and practice and study, you're not going to get this stuff, like guaranteed. So, all right, if there's any other questions, guys, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Otherwise, there's just nothing for us to take right now, guys. Price is still going back and forth. As you guys can see, it's still at where I mentioned where price was going to be at, right? Price just keeps pulling back to this blue line right here, which is opening price. This is just acting as a magnet. Price will just keep going sideways until Powell speaks here at 8 o'clock. And then from there, price will probably break out in either direction. But there's not really too much here. That's why I'm not really taking anything because there's nothing for us to take. Price is just going back and forth, and there's just no opportunities here for us to hop into. Let's see. C-Suk said trading videos. Here's a secret. If you know every single word in those 3-minute super long videos, word for word, you can recite them in normal conversations. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I know the strategies like the back of my hand, guys. You guys could ask me any strategy in the course and I can literally explain it to you and give you guys examples because I've been doing these strategies for so long. So if there's anything that you guys like specifically, just put in your or just ask me a question. I'll show you an example of it. So if there's one strategy that you guys like, you guys can attend the mentoring session and we can cover like 100 examples of that strategy if you want, because there's a lot of entries that come up every single day. So let's see. William said, yes, that is correct, William. You would do that if you would upgrade to the indicators because it just makes a difference, right? Like Hussein was asking about the indicators. You guys don't need the indicators. It's not really required. But what the indicators are going to do is it's going to train your eyes to basically see stuff on the chart, right? So for example, right here, there's no high lows on the chart, but if you guys have the high lows on the chart, you guys can see where liquidity is sitting. So what these indicators do is it's going to train you how to read the market, because I can literally do all this stuff without the indicators, but it would be impossible for me to teach you how to apply these strategies without the indicators, right? Because you can't like convert like my years of experience into like 1 week of training or like 1 month of training. It's just, it's all about practice and repetition. Like I've been trading live with you guys here for like 5 or 7 years now, I believe. And that's why I keep getting better, because I never take a day off. I'm trading every single day. I'm taking every opportunity that I see that's worthwhile. And it's just repetition, it's repetition every single day. Like this, for example, I already knew this was going to happen because I've seen this pattern play out a bunch of times. How many times have we traded when Powell spoke? We've traded maybe like 100 times where Powell spoke for that day. And the same thing happens every single time. Price just consolidates until he speaks. So Powell's going to speak over here at 8 o'clock. Typically, if you guys ever look back at any time Powell has spoken, price does the same thing. It just goes sideways for a bit. And then when he speaks, you're going to see a crazy spike. Like probably when he speaks, you're going to see like a 500 pip spike as soon as he says something. Like he'll say like, hello, and then boom, it spikes up like 500 pips. Like you guys have seen that before. Like if you guys have traded with me in the past, we've traded like during like all of these news events. I've been trading every day with you guys for like over 5 years now. So we'll see where this ends up. I think price will be bullish though, but as I mentioned, price will probably just hang around this area right here until he speaks. He's going to speak in about 12 minutes. He's usually on time though. He's not like Biden where he comes up like an hour later. He's usually on time at 8 o'clock and he'll say what he needs to say. and price will react to what he has to say as well. Yeah, no problem, William. Hussein's asking. So Hussein's asking, with indicators, we can cut short our journey, although there's no shortcuts, but the indicators can do a lot of help. Yes, that is correct, Hussein. So you're basically skipping, you're not skipping steps, but you're jumping ahead. So like for me, I learned everything from trial and error. I never had a mentor, I never paid for a course. I just like made a lot of mistakes, and then I learned from the mistakes. And then from those mistakes, I created, strategies and methods and these indicators. So yeah, these indicators will help you because it'll train your eyes. Like instead of you looking at a blank chart like this and you don't know like what's going on. Like for example, you can see what's going on here because I drew the zones, right? But if you took everything off here, like if you took everything off, it's going to be hard for you to like start off and just like figure out how to trade, right? But since I've provided you guys with the ability to use my indicators, so like for example, right here, you can see that price is in a range, right? But in order for you to see where the price is really ranging is, you just turn on the high-low indicator, you look at the closest higher high, which is going to be right here. And then you look at the closest lower low, which is right here. And then now you turn off the indicators. And what do you got? You got a range right there, right? So yeah, the indicators are going to give you a shortcut to like understanding how to read the charts. They're not necessarily going to be the end all be all. You still have to practice, and you still have to like, I'm here to mentor you, so I can get you to that next level. It's just really figuring out where your weak points are and then how we can work on that. Because I've been trading for so long that I've made pretty much every mistake you can think of. So in order for you to like learn from that or just avoid making those mistakes, you can just ask me questions and I can help you with it. So there we go with price pushing through. I mean, it's getting closer to Powell. So price is starting to push up. I think a lot of people are starting to like make their assumptions in the market. I think a lot of people are thinking that price is going to go up due to Powell speaking. So with that said, we might see price push up slightly. Rick said, I do like the videos, your live session, and the way you explain things, and your knowledge is what led me to purchase premium. Yeah, no, exactly, Rick. So I'm here to help you out. I'm not here to like chew you out. I'm just saying, because I get that question a lot, Rick. Like everyone wants like that one strategy that they think is going to be like the game changer. But realistically, everybody's different, right? You don't have the same trade psychology as I do. You don't have the same trade psychology as C-Soup or like Maddie or anybody else in this group. So you need to figure out what works best for you. Like some people really like the liquidity pushes. Some people hate it. I love it. It's like the easiest strategy to apply, right? You take the strategy like once a day. Like for the past couple of days, I've been making it like basically my week's profit in one trading day. So normally I'll be making like about like, 100 pips per day. Lately, I've been taking just the liquidity pushes, and I've been locked in like, 6,000 a day. So I don't really have to take any other trades. And this is what keeps me a little more grounded. Like, for example, the high-low momentum scalps, this strategy is good too, but it's a little riskier because you're doing negative risk to reward. So you can lose a trade and then you'll kind of be in the hole for a bit. But for the most part, if you're just applying it properly, you should be able to make enough wins to cover that. But like the liquidity push is one of my favorite strategies. It's always been one of my favorite strategies, but I don't like teaching it to beginners. All right, price is starting to push up a little bit, guys. You can see it's breaking out of this structure over here. Looks like a lot of people are starting to bandwagon right before Powell speaks. I would be careful and I wouldn't chase this, because when Powell speaks, price can easily just get shut right back down, because what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to see them, that they're going to be in profit, and they're going to get scared and pull out of their trade. You're just going to get the rug pulled from under you if you chase this move. So I'd be careful chasing the buy here. Powell hasn't spoken yet, so a lot of this move here is not even real move. It's just people that are starting to hype up Powell. He's not on for another 7 minutes. So just make sure not to follow like emotion. Like you can see where emotion is happening in the market right now. This push up right here is because a lot of people think Powell's going to push price up. So this is just straight emotion. I don't think Powell's even said anything yet. Let me check the calendar real quick on my website. Yeah, there's like no news here that's causing price to push up. And this is like the legit news website. This isn't like Forex Factor or anything like that. Like this is like a paid news website. So there's like literally nothing here pushing price up. People are just preparing for Powell to speak. So let me see if there's anything else here that I'm missing. Andy's asking, are liquidity pushes counting as official trades? Yeah, I'm not sure if you missed like the live sessions from like last week, Andy, but we did confirm that they were going to be counted as official trades because there hasn't been enough high-low momentum scalps that have been coming up. So I'm taking the liquidity trades every day. Only the ones that I'm taking though. So the only trades that count are the ones that I personally take myself. So if I tell you that I'm not going to take a trade and the trade hits, I'm not going to count it as a win. Or if I tell you I'm not going to take a trade and it loses, it's not going to count either. So the only trades that count as official trades are the ones that I'm specifically taking and the ones that fall under criteria. So the two main strategies that are falling under criteria here is going to be the high-level momentum scalp and then also the liquidity pushes. Just the one on open though. I'm not counting anything that happens after because I don't take it myself. I only take the opening push. The one for this morning, I didn't take it because I did give you guys warning. So that's why I'm not counting it. I didn't take a loss on it. And all of my behind the scenes trades don't count as well. So like sometimes I'll be trading on my own. Like we'll be here in the live session, but I'll see certain moves and I'll see certain entries, but I'll take them and not tell you guys. That's because I think they're risky and I don't want you guys to take anything that's too risky. So the main strategies that are counting as official are the high-level momentum scalps. Like for example, right here, there's a high-level momentum scalp that came up and it won, but I'm not going to count this trade because I didn't take it. I'm only counting the ones that I'm personally taking myself. So if I'm taking it, great. If I'm not taking it, then it's not going to count, even though it's a winner. Lucas said, Sean, are you staying on at all after 8? No, I'm for sure not going to stay on because Powell's going to be speaking at 8, Lucas. So I wouldn't recommend trading when Powell's speaking. You know, when you trade during news like that, it's just gambling. So for me personally, I wouldn't even risk it. I don't like gambling. Like you guys know how I trade. I like to trade very conservatively. I like to win. I don't like losing trades. And the worst part is if I lose a trade and it's based off like greed, like either greed or like gambling. So whenever I take a trade, it's only because I think it's a quality entry. And then also if it meets my criteria, meaning like it's like one of these strategies, a high level momentum scalp or liquidity on open. Liquidity on open already passed, so there's not going to be any liquidity for us. The only entry that I would possibly be looking for would be a high level momentum scalp. Hussein's asking, what's so attractive to the liquidity push strategy and other ones? I mean, everything, right? Like this, isn't this attractive to you, Hussein? 7,000 in like a minute or 2 minutes. That's what's attractive to me because I don't have to be on the charts for that long. I can be on the charts for like a few minutes. I can take one liquidity push here and I'm up like 7,000 and the trade hits in like 2 minutes. That's what's so attractive about it. And it's a 1-to-1 risk to reward. So if you lose a trade, like for example, if I traded today and I lost a trade, I'd be fine because I took 2 wins or 3 wins from this week. That's the most attractive thing about it, right? Like for example, this week, how many liquidity pushes did I take? I took one over here where I made like 5,000, I made 7,000. And then I took one the next day, I made 960, 860. I took a partial profit on this. And then on a Wednesday, I took it again. I made 6,000, made 6,000. So that's, you know, that's the most attractive thing about it is that you make way more profit and the risk to reward is a lot tighter. And you don't have to be on the charts like all day. Like you can literally just sit on the live sessions for like the first couple minutes if you want to just take the liquidity push and then wait for that entry. And then once you're done with it, just call it a day. Otherwise, if you guys want to keep trading with me, I'm typically on until 8 o'clock, and then we look for these high-level momentum scalps as well. So the thing that makes the high-level momentum scalp attractive is that you don't have to look at a lot of criteria. If you look at any of the other strategies here, Hussein, so for example, if you're looking at like, say, the pivot scalp over here, look at the first criteria. You have to confirm the overall bias, right? That's like a pretty big requirement. So this strategy still works very fine. I see a lot of people still apply it. Like, for example, there's a pivot scalp right here that came up because overall bias is bullish, right? Bullish, bullish, bullish. Fundamentals are bullish. They're currently up 93 points. Retail sentiment is currently 57% short. So everything here is a bullish bias. You confirm the overall bias, it's bullish. Confirm valid K2 momentum signal, there's a buy signal right here. Confirm price is above pivots for a buy. This here meets criteria. You enter that for 100 pips, and that would have been a full TP. So, I mean, like going back to what you were asking about, Rick. So see this pivot scalp here, this is a favorite as well. So even though we don't have any official entries, there's other strategies that are coming up. There's a pivot scalp that came up right here. This would be a high-low momentum scalp. So you can see how they kind of complement each other, right, Rick? Sometimes you'll have a high-low momentum scalp, and then it'll be followed by like a V1 variation, and then it'll be followed by a momentum scalp or a pivot scalp. And they kind of line up with each other. So that's why I recommend you focus on like one strategy. And then once you learn the second and third strategy, they're going to build on each other. So like for one over here, I'll just mark this up for you so you can see it better. So this right here is a high-low momentum scalp entry full TP. That's one strategy right there. This right here would be a V2 variation. And this right here would have been a pivot scalp entry. So there's actually like 3 entries that came up right here. And then also there's another one right here that lined up with this. This was also a high-low scalp entry, full TP. And then there's also a triple confluence. So although I didn't take any of these entries, if you knew any of my strategies, you know, there's like so many different opportunities that came up here. There's a high-low scalp, high-low momentum scalp that came up right here. There's a V2 variation that came up right here. There was a high-low scalp entry that came up right here. There was a triple confluence that came up right here. And there was a pivot scalp that also came up right here. So this green candle right here was actually 3 different strategies. That's why it's a triple confluence. So, I mean, all the strategies are attractive, guys. You guys just got to figure out which one you like. I just marked up right. There's so many strategies that came up right here. I didn't take any because I wasn't really paying attention. But if I was paying attention, I could have taken maybe at least one of these. This is why, like, I personally don't like to teach as much. But I mean, I'm fine with teaching because I like to see you guys succeed. But you know, if I was to just focus on just trading myself, I probably could have made like all these different trades here. Or I would have made at least like maybe half of them. I probably would have taken this one a high-low momentum. I probably wouldn't take this V2 variation, but I would have taken these here because my bias was bullish, right? So I typically like to trade in the direction of a bias. I trade with a bias. So like, for example, everything here was bullish, right? So we had a bullish trend. Pretty much all the time frames are bullish. So I wouldn't really look for any sells here. I would just look for buys. But you guys can see there's a lot of entries here that would have came up. So yeah, I mean, it's a give and take. Like it's kind of a balance. Like, for example, if I want to teach you guys, I'm going to miss out on trades, obviously, but I don't mind helping you guys because I make enough on like certain trades. Like, for example, I said I like the liquidity push. So if we had a liquidity push today and I would have taken one trade, I would have made enough profit to cover 3 of these entries because it would have been a 300 pip move. So instead of me taking 3 trades, I would have just taken 1 trade and I would have been good to go. But I'm pretty good for the week. I've made a lot of profit for the week, so I'm not feeling the need to force anything today. Yeah, no, exactly. Rick said, wow, I jive with your teaching style. Yeah, so like back to what I was saying, Rick, you know, find one strategy that you like, and then from there we can build on that. So if you want to start off with a high-low momentum scalp, work on that, and then I'll teach you how to look at reversal patterns, which is a V1, V2 variations. And then we can look for continuation strategies, high-low scalps, triple confluences, pivot scalp, etc. You know, it's a learning process. You're gonna learn here, and you're gonna keep learning every day. So, all right, guys, it's past 8 o'clock. I don't want to trade because Powell is speaking right now. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this week. Unfortunately, we didn't have any official trades today, and we didn't have any official trades yesterday, but we did have trades on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which pretty much, I mean, it pretty much started off the week for us really nicely. And unfortunately, towards the end of the week, the market kind of like died down a bit, but you know, it happens. So if you guys didn't take any trades today, that's fine. It's better to end the week with no losses rather than any losses. And I think, if you guys are good, I would just call it a week because it's not really worth taking the risk right now, especially with Powell speaking right now. Yeah, a lot can happen right now in a few. So Powell's probably speaking at the moment. Let me see if you guys want to watch his live stream. I think it's on YouTube. See Powell live. Yeah, so if you guys want to watch Powell, just go on the YouTube channel. It's on CNBC. Just look up, search up Powell live, and then you'll see him discuss. But I personally would just sit out the market. It's not worth it. You might get lucky with a couple wins here and there, but if you have a loss, you're going to go into this weekend with such a bad feeling because you know that greed was a reason why you took the loss. So, all right, guys. Other than that, have a great weekend. Be safe. You guys are going to EDC. Have fun. Come back. Hopefully, come back Monday. If not, I'll see you guys back here on Tuesday. Otherwise, I think that's it. So have a great weekend, guys, and I'll see you guys back